We're going to talk tonight about love. In Hebrew it's ahava, and there's a word inside that comes from the word hav, give. What does give have to do with love? And first, the fascinating thing is to realize how so many people claim the same thing. You know, in the beginning, it was fascinating, it was wonderful, it was firecrackers and butterflies in the tummy. And a person was so much in love that they made the greatest, the biggest decision of their life. Would you marry me? Yes. Yes, I will marry you. And then soon after, they're starting to wonder, wait a second, was this the right move? Years later, people start to say, you know, it's just not the same. What do you mean it's not the same? It's not the same person? Well, of course it's the same person, but it's not the same person. So then what? Did you make a mistake in your decision? Were you cognitive? Did you know what you were doing? And the person says, well, sure, I made a decision, but it's not the same. What changed? What did change? And what could we do to manage our marriages so that it would always be a success? So that there would always be the chirping birds and the firecrackers all of our life? That's what we're going to talk about right now. The place to start is an interesting parable that has to do with love and the stage before that, romance. What is romance? There's an interesting parable that describes it like building a bonfire. How do you build a bonfire? You're camping, you're out in the woods, it's cold, you want something that's going to heat you up. You have to go get good logs, position them in a situation where there's air spaces in between. And then you start taking some fast combustibles. You know, twigs, paper, newspaper is great, old newspapers, fit those in between the spaces. Take your match and light. So where do you light? If you put the match onto the logs, it's just going to make a black spot. Nothing's going to happen over there. It's not going to flare up into a bonfire. But everybody knows that your match, you light the fast combustibles. And if you leave it, that's not the way to do it. You have to start working on it to make those fast combustibles catch onto the logs. And then you've got a real fire. Why don't you just use the fast combustibles? Well, because as soon as it lights, faster it flares up, just as fast it goes down. So then why don't you just use the logs? Because it won't catch. So this parable, I would like to investigate a little bit in order to understand where is the connection between romance and love. I would like to talk about the Hollywood, let's call it the Hollywood bluff. It's what we all came to believe in. You know, Hollywood made us to believe that there's something called love at first sight. Is that true? Is there really love at first sight? And what about the rest of it? Like, and they lived happily ever after. Is that also true? Is it when there's love at first sight that automatically there's going to be and they lived happily ever after? Is there a connection? Is that true? Where was the point that the Hollywood bluff made us fall? I want to understand, what does it mean, love at first sight? Well, let's see. There's a concept in the Torah which is histakel be'oraita ubara alma. Chazal, our rabbis, describe to us the following thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked into the Torah to create the entire universe. There's many, many deep things about that. Basically, all that exists came through existence when Hashem brought it out from the Torah itself. There's deep ideas here. However, leaving it simple, let's just describe the following thing. Everything that has existence basically came into existence with Hashem using the Torah as the conduit for those powers to bring it into existence. For example, when Hashem wanted to create the heavens, He looked into the Torah, saw the word Shamaim, and when Hashem said it, it came and it was heaven. And then, when Hashem wanted the land, the ground, He said, Aretz, let there be Aretz, and then it was. So in other words, everything that exists has to have an expression in the Torah. Well, let's see. Does love exist? Certainly. It says, Ve'ahavta l'orecha kamocha. It says, Ve'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. Ahava. That's written in the Torah. Okay. Does romance exist? Well, what is romance? How do you express that? The interesting thing is, what exactly is the word in the Torah for romance? I don't know either. Maybe nowadays they say clique or something like that. But exactly where does that show up in the Torah? It doesn't say. So the fascinating thing is, does that mean that it doesn't have an existence? It's not real? Well, I feel it. Well, this brings us to another idea. It says as well, our rabbis describe to us, Isarusa de la'ela, Isarusa de la tata, which means an arousal from above and arousal from below. What that idea means is that Hashem, when Hashem brings a person to a new stage in his life, to reach a new level, Hashem first gives a blessing, a gift, an arousal from above. The example would be when a person is coming back in tshuva, all of a sudden is such clarity. It's like a gift that Hashem gives them the clarity. Soon afterwards, however, they're left in the dark. The parable would be as follows. A person who's going through a forest, and it's starting to get dark, and suddenly he realizes that, my goodness, I'm going to be stuck, it's going to be shkia. And he looks down, and he realizes that the path that he was following is not there. He veered from the path and he's lost in the forest, and the night is coming. To make things worse, there's a storm as well. As it gets dark, all of a sudden a lightning bolt goes across the sky, and the whole thing is lit up, and suddenly he sees ahead and there's the path. And then the lightning bolt, just as fast as it came, it's gone. And he's in the black, maybe even darker because his eyes were flashed. But the point was that now he knows where's the path, so he can start to go and work on it to get there. That's the idea of Isarusa de la'ela and Isarusa de la tata. If you want, the place where Chazal describe it the most, very much, is, for example, in the whole situation of coming out, the Jewish nation coming out of Egypt. Yetziat Mitzrayim was a flash. There were such miracles that never happened before. The Kriyat Yamsuf was such miracles that never was before. And then, soon afterwards, they were in the dark again. Where? To the desert. What do you mean? No food, no drinks, no nothing? Yes, march. Now you have to work on it in order to reach that level that was given to you as a gift before, so that you can stand on Har Sinai. This idea I would like to present as an idea that comes with romance and love. See, take a look. Hashem, in the beginning of the marriage, Hashem wants to direct the person. Hashem gives clarity. Hashem gives things that the person would see and realize that this is the one that I want to marry you. Would you marry me? And now comes the biggest question of their life. And they say, yes, I will marry you. But does that mean that it's going to be love forever? That it's going to be now that they live like that for all of their life without ever working for it? Soon after it was given, it flares out by definition, because now you have to work on it. If you don't, it's not yours. How would Hashem give you a reward in the world to come for something that He gave to you and it wasn't even yours? And this brings us to the beginning of this topic, which is, what can we do to harness that power that Hashem gave us as a gift in the beginning of the marriage, to say, yes, I want this marriage, and to use it now with my decision that I want the marriage now, in order to make it work, in order to make the marriage real, in order to make the love a flare, a fire right now, today, 20 years after I made the biggest decision of my life. What can you do to start that fire, to spark that fire, and to make it real now in your life? That also means, for the newlyweds out there, that you can use this idea that we're about to talk about, to make sure that your flaring fire will never burn out. It won't ever come to that stage of, no, why did I get married? No! by realizing the things that you have, that power that you have in your discretion, you can use it at any time in your life. So let's go. What is it? What is the power that made a person make the biggest decision in their life? That made the person start that bonfire? So here we go. You see, marriage is all about connection. Connection has a formula. Hashem wants connection. And Hashem made in the reality, in the world, a formula that's going to ensure that people will connect, that there will be relationships. Well, let's start. If I want something, I need a formula that's going to be universal. If it's going to be universal, it should work even in a relationship between me and my Creator. Maybe that's the place to start. What is it that makes a person want to connect to Hashem? Would you say it's what He gave you? Or would you say it's what you're missing, what you're lacking? A fascinating way to talk about this, I think, is the shul of the hospital. A hospital is an interesting place, like an airport, new arrivals and unfortunately departures. And the hospital shul is a fascinating place to spend a little bit of time to see the people around you, how they pray. There's people that are praying for loved ones that unfortunately are in the departure zone. And there are people that are just there for a new arrival. And the fascinating thing is to see how do they connect with Hashem. So would you say it's what you received? That's a wonderful thing. It's called Hakarat Tov. Hakarat Tov is a maila, it's a midah. But a person has to work on it. Does it come natural? I think that a person who doesn't work on their Hakarat Tov, it kind of dwindles. I mean, how much, thank you Hashem, thank you for the new baby, thank you. And the next day, thank you Hashem. And the day after, thanks. And the day after, but then it's not natural anymore. But there is a natural connection that Hashem made in the nature. What would that be? Well, take a look at the other side. When a person needs something, the more they get it, the more they need it, the more they're praying for it, the harder they work for it. They would never let up. They would never give a go. Please, Hashem, don't take him from me. So the fascinating thing is that Hashem put that into the creation. In every place where Hashem wanted connection, relationship, Hashem made needs. Would you like an example? How about our mothers? The four mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. How come every single one of them was barren? Says Chazal, because Hashem wants the prayer of the righteous. So isn't that fascinating? We build our society according to our needs. We go and we live in a place because that place is the one that I can get what I need. Hashem made us need shoes. Why? So that we'll have a relationship with the sandlar and with the shoemaker. And Hashem made us need clothes so that we would have a relationship. We would go and speak with the tailor. We need clothes and food and grocers and butchers and bakers. All of this creates the society that we live in. Isn't that what it says? Chesed olam yibani. So in other words, what we're coming to is a formula that builds your marriage. And in fact, that's what people make their marriage, that's what they make their decision based on. There's all kinds of needs. People need all kinds of things. Let's take a quick example. Just in order to show you how it works, where a person makes the biggest decision in their life based on a personal need without even realizing it. All this is subconscious, sometimes even conscious. But take a look. I'll show you. Here's a special girl. This girl, she's the top, Phi Beta Kappa. She's the best. She went out of her grade 1 with A pluses. Grade 2, she was just the star of the school. When she reached the end, the end of the school term, already all of the different schools were wanting her. They were giving her scholarships. Come to our place, we'll pay you, just come. And she moved on, she got her BA with flaring colors, and moved on to her master's, and moved on until one day at the dinner table, her father and her mother, when are you going to get married? And she's like, oh, come on, you're building your career so much. When are you finally going to go and build your life too? She says, well, come on, Mom, don't you know? All the guys are the same. They just don't understand me. The conversations are just not going. I try to say, they're just so blunt, so not there. Until one day, she meets Mr. Right. In comes a guy. This guy's a flaring genius. She says an idea, he answers back, she's like, wow, that was incredible. And the conversations are going so well. And she's enjoying the conversation so much that one day he says to her, would you marry me? And she says, yes. Why did she do that? Because that was a fulfillment of her base need. She needed somebody who's level-headed, somebody who's going to be there for her, with understanding her. Now, at this point, all the movies end. They say, and they lived happily ever after. But would you like me to continue the part where Hollywood never lets us to see? Here's the stage where they continue their life. She's going on to get her doctorate. She's working on her PhD. Of course, with flying colors. But the part of this story that I left out is that although she's a school worked with the corners exactly fitting into the box, like a ordered garden where everything is exactly in its place, he is a wild thicket of ideas, like a forest that's just growing, like an Einstein. He never did well in school, but he's a genius. What ends up happening is, as she continues, she says, well, you know, Professor said so-and-so, and he answers back, well, you know, that idea is just ludicrous because of this and that. And she says, well, what do you mean? How can you say that? And all of a sudden the conversations are not going the way that they did before. And then, if we continue what I'm describing, eventually they end up as one of the statistics as well. They end up saying, you know, why did I get married like this? Why am I with this person? Why is it continuing? And all of a sudden, things are not the way it was. The firecrackers in the beginning are not as sharp and stunning as they always used to be. So I asked you, what changed? See, what changed is something that we can continue into the following point. It says in Pirkei Avot, Kol ava shetluya bedavar, batla ava, batla davar, batla ava. Every time that there's a love that's dependent on something, when that thing ceases to exist, the love will cease to exist as well. However, if it's not depending on something, the love will flourish and grow. Let's go on with another point to this model. And here is the point that we're all looking for. You see, there's actually intrinsic needs. There are things that Hashem made because Hashem wants marriages. There's one thing that all men need, and only their wife can give that to them. If a woman knows what is that need, and she gives that to her husband, she will ensure that the marriage will flourish. Similarly, every woman needs something that only her husband can give her. And when her husband is giving that in the marriage just flourishes. What would that be? After all, Hashem wanted marriage. If Hashem wanted marriage, and in order to make a connection, Hashem gives needs, so therefore Hashem would give an intrinsic need in people that would ensure that there will be marriage. So what would it be? Well, let's take a look. A woman needs connection. She needs devotion. She needs commitment. She needs someone that's there just for her. Only her husband can give that. Similarly, a husband needs to feel success. He needs to feel happiness. He needs to feel that it was good, that I was good, that I succeeded. In marriage, that would be that my wife is in love with me because of me. When a man feels that he's good in the marriage, that he's making his wife happy in the marriage, that builds the marriage. So here we are, we've come full circle to realize that there's something that starts the marriage. In the parable, we talked about the fast combustibles. That's what we're referring to right now. Those fast combustibles are a quick flare. But if you leave them, they burn out. I'll show you exactly how it works. Take a look. Boy meets girl and decides, right? She, with her intuition, she sees that there's something special about this guy. He has something that I know is what I'm looking for. All of a sudden, she has that spark in her eye, and he realizes it's because of me. So then what happens is, they make the biggest decision of their life. He feels that it's because of me, and he feels happy. And then he says, would you marry me? And she says yes, because she feels this is the one that's going to be devoted to me. Now, let's go on just one step after the marriage, and I'll show you exactly how the same thing happens. If I were to translate these base needs into a simplistic form, I know you're not supposed to simplify because there's always problems that come from that, but here we go. A simple way of describing this would be as follows, and I'm doing this just in the purpose to build the following model so that we can understand where this is headed. A woman needs devotion. She needs commitment. She has to feel that he is loyal to me, that he is devoted to me, that he is committed to me. In English, there's a phrase, a friend in need is a friend indeed. So take a look. She would try, she tests the waters. Is it true? Is he really going to be devoted to me? She looks soon after the wedding at the diamond ring, diamonds are forever. But is this one also? Is the marriage going to be? So she tries. She tries to say something to see what's going to be his reaction. If I'm always everything happy, maybe he's only loving me just because of that. So she starts to check and she says, I'm tired. A man's response, oftentimes in a mistake, would be, well, go to sleep. Big mistake. But suddenly she realizes that, oh my goodness, it's not what I thought. She tries here, she tries there, and she's not getting what she needs. All of a sudden, the spark in her eye starts to go. And all of a sudden, the husband, he starts to realize, my goodness, I'm not making my wife happy. And then he starts to realize, wait, it's not the way it used to be. I thought she was happy because of me. I thought she was in love with me. And all of a sudden, things start to go further and further apart. And they start to make big mistakes, like believing in the Hollywood bluff, that it was love at first sight. That's a mistake. It's not love at first sight. It might be romance at first sight, a click, a gift from God, but it's not necessarily something that's going to be lasting. So when a person leaves it at the fast combustibles, that's the part where everything burns out. What I'm referring to is that love in the marriage needs to be worked on. It needs to be built, similarly, just like the bonfire, where you would fan the fast combustible until it catches on the logs. When it catches on something real, that's not based on because of that he's a genius, because of that he understands me, because of whatever it is, but is building the love. More and more, that's where the marriage builds stronger and stronger, and the love becomes solid. This love becomes real, like the real bonfire, and that's true love. So to differentiate, there's romance, but then there's love. Making life depend on the romance, making life depend on the things that made the person decide in the beginning, that's where the mistake is. So where is it? Where's the point that a person can invest in their marriage? The way I like to say it is, where is the point where the fast combustibles catch onto the logs, where it starts to become something real? That's the point that we're all looking for. And it's the point that's going to build the marriage. This is the point that's going to make a person change the marriage at any stage in their life. Even after everything burned out, you can flare the whole thing up once again from what? The answer is as follows. The moment that you realize to stop looking at what I need, when am I going to get what I need around here in this marriage? And to start looking, when can I give to my spouse what he or she needs? That's the moment where the fast combustibles catch on the logs. Thank you for listening.
It's good to end it there.